This is what I will be talking about today, the SSR249 with the Daytona HPA blowback kit, and then also the difference to the AEG version, so the standard SSR249, how it was playing with the thermal vision, and the whole setup that I did with a different stock, holo sight, and then also the camera setup with a bipod grip as well. I'm going to be talking about that as well. So yeah, bit of a longer video with lots of stuff to cover, so let's get right into it. Now, first of all, how did I get my hands on this thing even? Because these Daytona kits, honestly, in all my years of playing airsoft, I think I've seen only one in the US. So these are really, really rare and for a good reason. First of all, they are quite pricey. Yeah, I mean, you could argue, you get really nice machined parts and all of this. It's a very unique system. There's very little out there. There's a good reason why it's expensive. But I wouldn't say it's a product for the masses, yeah, because of the price, and also the installation is actually quite tricky. So yeah, I saw it first in the US. Then I went to one of our distributor, Black Blitz Airsoft in Canada, and they're actually the ones making this product. So one of the techs is installing these Daytona systems. He's making sure that they're running. He does the quality control and all of this. And yeah, this was the first time that I actually shot it myself. I shot it inside an LMG and I think it's great. You have the magazine capacity of an AEG LMG, I guess, right? With the automatic feeding. So you have multiple thousand rounds, but you still have the blowback. And you can't really get this anywhere else because you do have the, for example, the VFC blowback LMG. I think it's a 249 as well. The issue with this one is that the magazine clips into the top. It's like almost like a P90. It's not a P90 magazine, but it's kind of like that style. It's a long magazine. You clip it into the top cover, and then you have, I believe, it's somewhere around 100 rounds. Yeah, you get the blowback, but then you don't get the advantage of the LMG. So your magazine capacity is lower than that of some random guy running an M4 with a high cap or even just a mid cap. While I think the VFC one is really cool, it kinda misses the point when it comes to really utilizing the advantage of the LMG. And this is where the Daytona system kinda ticks all the boxes. There is also some disadvantages, but we're gonna get to that. So how did I get my hands on one of these Daytona kits? Basically, I talked to the guy who's QCing it, the guy in Canada, and I told him, hey, if I send you a 249, are you gonna put a Daytona kit in for me and send it back to me? This is the result. I don't know what exactly he had to do, but I think it's not just a drop-in. I think you have to drill some holes. It's not that easy. It's really not a very user-friendly installation. I looked a little bit into it, and unless you're a tech and you have tools at home, you don't want to be touching this. I received it, I shot it, and actually only after a few hundred shots, it actually stopped functioning. So that was a bit of a bummer. I gave it to one of our techs who know our gas blowback systems the best, but he found that some spring broke and then it was scratching the inner surface where the piston is traveling. So it was a whole thing, it was quite a headache, and he spent multiple hours on getting it to run again. So here again, it's a very cool system, it's very unique, but you have to be a tech to run this, yeah? That is at least the impression that I had. Besides all of this, the complexity, the high price, once it's in there and it's running, it was running actually very nicely. I was playing an entire game day with this thing, actually not an entire game day. The game day was shared between the Daytona version and the standard AEG version. So I could also really nicely compare them on how playable are these two different systems. What do I like, what do I not like. I'm gonna start with the Daytona on what I liked, and the number one coolest thing was definitely how people reacted to it. Because when you shoot this thing, it's very loud, it makes a lot of sound. I mean, let's just shoot it one more time so you guys get the idea. When it's closed, it's still really, really loud. Do you see how much this thing shakes? So it's loud, it shakes, it's cool, and you have lots of magazine capacity, and that draws attention. Some people are really scared of it, like when I was running in the field shooting and playing as an LMG player should play, lots of suppressive fire and moving while shooting and all of this. It almost felt like it has a psychological effect on people. Once they hear this, they're like, oh, the LMG shooting, we have to stay low. And that was really cool. Now on the downside, and there's actually quite some downsides, the accuracy on this thing was not very satisfying. It is an LMG, yeah. You can just accuracy through volume, right? I guess you can do that. But the range was far away from what the AEG can do, even though I played around with the hop-up. Also, hop-up adjustability is a whole other thing. Yeah, you have to open the cover, then you have to, I'm not gonna do it now because it's such a headache, but you basically have to unscrew here a screw that's at an angle, and then you pull out the other barrel, and then you need an Allen key to adjust the hop-up, and then you assemble the whole thing again. So yeah, I think it goes into the whole you have to be a tech to use this topic. So yeah, because of the accuracy, it's, I don't know how to put it. Again, it's very cool, it feels very cool, it has this psychological effect, but because you can't hit at far distances, you know, I don't know, a bit tricky for me. One other downside of the Daytona system was that I had to press here this button here to activate the magazine. I don't know if you guys can see it, but oh man, this thing is so heavy. Here, this button, you press it, and then the magazine starts winding. You don't have to do this on the AEG version because the magazine was designed in a way that it picks up the shooting sound of the AEG and it starts winding as you shoot. Not on this one, so you know, when someone was popping around the corner and I'm just used to point the barrel in the direction and shoot, I maybe forgot to press the feeding, and then actually this thing is not feeding. It makes a lot of sound, but no BBs are coming out of it. That's something you have to be aware if you ever consider to get a Daytona system. Yeah, you have to press this button, and in stress situations you might forget, so yeah, just something to be aware of. Next thing that I found is the gas consumption on this thing was insane. Let me get the bottles real quick so I can show you. So this is what I brought to the field. Big one, small one, and another small one that's now in the HBA bottle pouch. I ran through all of these. Yeah, that's it. Before 1 p.m. and the game started at 10. So within 3 hours, and yeah, I did shoot it a lot. I probably shot, I would say 2,000 BBs, yeah, maybe 2,500. I ran through these 3 bottles and I was basically empty, yeah. I then switched to the AEG. I brought it because first of all, I'm quite new to the system and I wasn't sure if it's gonna run the whole day. But yeah, thank God I brought the AEG because I ran out of air, even though I brought 3 bottles. So much for the Daytona system. Ton of fun, draws a lot of attention, not very accurate, and you have to be quite a techie guy to operate it. But still, super unique, super cool. Now let's talk about the difference in experience I had with the SSR249 AEG variant. So gearbox inside, you know, our CNC hop-up chamber, all that stuff. Biggest difference, like by far the biggest difference, was range and accuracy. And I'm not talking now purely 249, SSR249, but any AEG that's decent, you know, like a modern built AEG, maybe not the ones from 10 years ago, but what you buy right now for $200, euros, will outrange this thing. Absolutely. I think when people go into HBA, they kind of have to have this expectation of, it's HBA, you know, so I have consistent pressure and I can shoot heavy BBs and all of this. Not so much on this one. Maybe you can shoot heavy BBs. I did try 28, I even tried 32s. Accuracy-wise, still wasn't there. So that's the biggest difference. With this thing, on the AEG version, also fast hop-up adjustment, yeah, another one, because maybe I could have gotten more range, but with this whole take your barrel out, adjust the hop-up, and then you need 2 tools to actually bring it back together. I really tried to put it at a setting where I get the maximum range, but you never really know, you know, maybe it could have been better, but after the 5th time of taking out the barrel, you just, you know, good enough, I'm just gonna run it like this. I can't bother anymore. While on this one, you know, you open it, you have your wheel right here, and you just go back and forth. You shoot, you check, done, and your hop-up is set. So massive difference in convenience. Next one is I can just fire. It's kind of like fire and forget. I don't have to press that button here on the side because the magazine picks up the sound of the shooting. Of course, no blowback, yeah, not as satisfying, not as scary for people. You know, the sound sounds like pretty much like any other AEGs. No one will really know that you shoot an LMG, maybe because you shoot a lot more, but an AEG can also do this, right? It's standard M4. So much for the difference between these 2 platforms. For the rest of the video, I'm gonna focus on thermal and LMG, you know, how does this work, and also LMG play in general and what I learned. So when it comes to what I used on this one, let's just go very quickly through it. I did take a, you know, EOTech clone. I think it fits the looks. I know that many people love the look of the Elcan, but because this thing already gets so heavy with especially the cameras and the thermal optic, I said no, I will use something more light, so I went for this one. Of course, it has the protector in there, you know, so it's BB proof. Camera wise, selfie cam, zoom cam, nothing special here. Basically just mounted with our adapters, power banks, so I have more power. Now the bipod grip. I never thought I will ever say this, but the bipod grip was actually nice. It's small stuff like you just put the LMG down because in a game break or something, you can put it on the bipod. Also in general, because this gun is so heavy, having something a bit more ergonomic to hold it is just really nice. And even when I was shooting it sometimes, you know, I was going prone and I actually did use it because it brought the rifle to the right height and it gave it a bit more stability because it just has so much weight that it's not this typical, you know, I'm just gonna hold it with my hand and if an enemy pops up, I'm gonna bring up the rifle with one hand because I can balance the rifle on one hand. On this rifle, you cannot do it. Like if I tried with one hand to bring it up, it's really difficult, right? So having this additional support was a very nice touch. Sling. No brainer on an LMG. You have to run a sling. This time I used our universal sling and that's because of the pad. I really thought I will need some padding because I'm gonna have this in the neck. So this is how I ran it with the pad on my neck. That really did help, so I wouldn't want to run this thing without a pad. Yeah, just hangs here. My arm is in the sling and that's kind of how I ran it. Also, this stock, I found this stock lying around in the office. I don't even know which brand it is. It was just on one of the shelves. Maybe at the time that you see this video, we already added this stock because unfortunately right here my microphone died. You can see it right here. I don't know, I think I hit it with the stock. So let me just finish off what I wanted to say in the last minute of this video. So this stock, I'm planning to put it into the store actually. I quite like that I could adjust it because the para stock, while I think it looks cooler and there's, you know, it's very nice to manipulate it. It's like this, almost like a fidget toy. It's like wrecking a slide. This was more useful in my opinion, just because when you run a plate carrier, you want it a bit shorter. Also because an LMG is so heavy, maybe you want it closer to your body, but not as close as the fully collapsed para stock. So big fan of this one. Now last point is the thermal side, how I used it. Now on the thermals, really what I have to say is that in winter, because this game was in winter, it's very, very, very useful. Yeah? The temperature difference between the environment and the people playing, it's so high that you just kind of run the screen. If there's an enemy, you will see that enemy, unless he's behind hard cover. But if they're behind bush where you wouldn't be able to see them with your eyes, you absolutely see them. And then being able with an LMT to just, you know, lay down full auto fire, that was just really satisfying and it almost felt a bit unfair at times. I was running the thermal before on a sniper rifle. There, you know, if you see someone in a bush with a sniper rifle, you can't just shoot through it. You can try, but, you know, most likely some twig will stop it. But on an LMG, you see him and you just take him down. Yeah, that's pretty much it on the 249. I quite enjoyed it. If I would have to choose between the AEG and the Daytona, honestly, the AEG, it just makes more sense, yeah. It shoots further, it's more accurate, it's easier to adjust the hop-up. But I think if you have the money and you want something new, something cool that draws a lot of attention, or maybe you run a field and you want a juggernaut who's, you know, who seems scary because of this blowback loud LMG, or you have it mounted on a vehicle for show, I think the Daytona kit is absolutely a nice thing to have. Or maybe you attack and you can, you know, make it run really, really stable. Maybe you already own 8 guns and you want a new challenge, then the Daytona is something that you can definitely look into. Good. Also, as a last thing, the SSR249 is back in stock in Europe. I think it was out of stock for 6 months or something, so I just wanted to announce this. And also we're gonna have it F&H licensed in the US on evic.com. They're gonna retail it, so you can also find it right there. Plus the thermal, we're also now offering these thermals that you saw in that specific video, so you can also check out these. However, be aware that in winter they work best, in summer they also work, but because the temperature difference is not as crazy, it's not going to be as efficient as you saw it in that video. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't seen the gameplay, go check it out.